Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to try and look into the Excel Vlookup with exact match functions as well as the nested Vlookup functions. The Excel sheet is already provided to you. The link for the Excel sheet can be found in the description below. So let's start with the Excel exact match function, the Vlookup exact match function to be precise. So we have a set of data over here where we have the name of a particular set of people. A rating has been allocated to them based on their performance, let's say fair, satisfactory, good, poor, etc. And a numerical score has to be allocated to them based on the reference table which is given over here. The reference table says whenever the person is getting a rating of excellent, the numerical score of 99 has to be allocated to him. He is working good or satisfactory, then the rating of 85 and 78 has to be given to the person. In that case, we are going to start off with the Vlookup formula as we had done earlier on. In the previous videos, we have equals to Vlookup, bracket open. We are now going to select the rating which is mentioned over here. The rating is specifically fair in the first case, comma, we are going to look for this rating in the table, rate table. As you can see, the name has been already allocated to the particular selection of data set. In the rate table, I am going to print column number 2, and hence I am going to mention 2 for my references, as well as over here in this case we are not going to be looking in any particular range, hence we are going to select false for exact match, bracket close and enter. All you got to do is drag the formula down and there you go, we have the numerical scores of all the employees in place. However, let's try and just understand what's happening over here. We have used the exact match function, the reason being we want to print exactly what is in front of excellent mentioned over here, what is in front of very good, what is in front of good, or what is in front of satisfactory. If we had to look up in a particular range, then Vlookup with exact match wouldn't have worked. Also, do remember that the first column of your reference table should be the same column that you are looking up in the data table itself. That means if you are looking at for the ratings in this particular column, make sure the ratings are also there in the first column of your reference table. So that's it for the exact match. We'll be looking at another example of exact match in the nested Vlookup section also. So let's start up with an example for nested Vlookup. We have quite an interesting set of data here. On one side of the data set you can see we have social security numbers of certain people, the number of hours they have worked, their pay rate and gross salary depending on the number of hours they have worked, and we have a column of dependent as we had done in the previous examples of Vlookups. Now in this case we have a column of dependent, we have a column of state, and we need to find the regional tax. We have two reference tables on the right side. Both of these reference tables are going to be used to create one single formula that is required for Excel. So let's try and understand how to get the data and what data we need to get without using any particular formula, and then we'll plan out a strategy to put in the formula. So we want to find the first case. Let's see, we want to use the dependent column and the state column in both these cases and try and fetch the values from both of these reference tables and finally get the desired tax rate over here. For Colorado, if you look into for Colorado, we cannot find Colorado over here in our dependents table or in the region table, because of which we can't find which particular regional tax we have to allocate it. However, we can find Colorado in this particular reference table wherein the state regions are mentioned. The Colorado in the state regions table points to an abbreviation called as empty. If you look up this empty in the second table and look at dependent number 5 in this table, we are going to get something of this sort, that is 0.30%. That is exactly what we want to fetch in this case. For your convenience, I have already given a name to the entire range of reference tables. That is, for this particular table, you can see the name state regions which are already given, and for the second table you can already see the name given as regional tags. You can try and break the formula into two parts and then thereby combine it. So let's try and do that also. So first we are going to try and derive Colorado from this particular table, Colorado pointing to empty. So in this particular case, I'm going to say Vlookup, bracket open, I'm going to select Colorado, comma, and I'm going to use the reference table that we have created here, that is the name state regions, comma, I want to print column number 2 from this table, so comma 2, comma, and we are going to use something called as exact match over here and not look into approximate match, because we are not going to be looking up at any ranges over here. So false for exact match. There you go, and you just have to drag the formula down and you have it. Now we are going to look at this column which we have got, where we have got the state abbrevial empty, and we are going to look up this empty and this particular dependent number 5 in this particular reference table. That means we want to look at empty and the dependent number 5 in the first case. So let's look at this table and first analyze the data that we have and try and find the pattern and the relationship between the column which is given and the reference table that we have. I already told you, we always have to try and first look at the data, analyze it, try and find any patterns in the data with respect to the particular formula that we are going to create, and then only start creating the formula. So let's look at this data. Colorado gives me empty. I want to look up empty with dependent number 5. Let's look at where the dependent number 5 lies in my data set regional tags. My dependent number 5 lies in which column number? My dependent number 5, since in the Vlookup formula we will also have to take in this particular column which has the names of all the regions, we cannot exclude this from our selection list. Similarly, when we want to make a data selection with respect to any Vlookup formula, you always have to remember that the reference column has to be included in your reference table selection. Now, let's look at the data. Dependent number 5 lies in which column number? This is my first column, second column, third column, fourth column, fifth column, and the sixth column. So dependent number 5 lies in column number 6 of my reference table. Let's see where the dependent number 2 lies. Dependent number 2 lies in the first, second, and third column of my reference table. So the relationship between the dependent column and the reference table is that whatever value of the dependent is there, plus 1 gives me the column number of that dependent in the reference table. That means dependent number 5 plus 1, that is column number 6, is the location of the dependent 5 in this particular reference table. So let's start putting up the formula together over here. In the adjacent column next to empty, I'm going to type the Vlookup formula. So we are going to look up Vlookup, bracket open. I'm going to select the lookup value being empty, comma. I'm going to look up at empty in the table array, state regions, or regional tag, comma, and I'm going to look up at the dependent 5 plus 1 for my column, since I am not going to select 5 directly. I'm going to select the dependent plus 5, which gives me the exact column number of 5 in my regional tax table, comma, and exact match again, because I'm not going to be looking at any range. I want to match exactly what is in front of empty and exactly what is in front of 5 over here, and hence I'm going to use an exact match in this case. And there you go, we have 0.003, which by clicking on the percentage symbol on the top will give me 0.30%. You have to increase the accuracy or increase the decimal place, that is the specific denomination after your decimal places, and you will get 0.30% from the reference table exactly the way you want it. You just have to drag the formula down. There you go, you have 2 VLOOKUP formulas. Now all we got to do is combine them both together. Now let's look at this. It's quite an easy and a neat trick. Once you have the formulas in 2 different columns, all you got to do is see which column is fetching which particular value. I'm going to double click on this formula. In this particular VLOOKUP formula, we are using the reference MT, which is again derived by using another VLOOKUP formula and using it in this particular section of the VLOOKUP. So what we are going to do is we are going to try and copy the formula which gives us empty. Now don't copy the equal to sign, just copy the formula from VLOOKUP entirely, do a Control C, hit an escape, go back to your formula on the adjacent cell. Now instead of G2 is what? Empty. Instead of G2, we are simply going to directly paste our VLOOKUP formula over here, and there you go, we exactly get what we want in this particular case. Now, irrespective of the presence of this column, we have this column working perfectly fine. So this is a VLOOKUP formula. A VLOOKUP inside a VLOOKUP makes it a nested VLOOKUP formula, and it's quite interesting and is going to be used a lot in respect to different kinds of data that you are going to use. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks a lot for watching this particular video. Hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and do press the bell icon to be notified for future coming videos. I'll be putting up a lot more examples and a lot more interesting features in the coming sessions. Stay tuned and please give your valuable feedback. It helps me a lot and keeps me motivated. Thanks a lot. Once again, stay home, stay safe. Ciao.